The movie begins as we see a young boy carrying buckets of blood, which he disposes inside a well. He's told to hide when a vague figure of a man is seen coming towards him. The man arrives with the corpse of a man, which he settles to the mistress, who then beheads it in a minor flashback. We see that the dead man was one of a gang of outlaws responsible for sexually assaulting the mysterious man's wife. Nearby, an undead servant named Slipknot meets with a religious gang led by their undead master, Pool. The leader of the gang of undead, known as Gallow Walkers, mumbles through his sewn-up lips, asking where the rest of Slipknot's crew is. Slipknot replies, they were attacked by a mysterious man. The leader realizes there is someone behind the tree when seeing the remains of his former comrade nailed to a tree. As the mysterious gunslinger, Amon, reveals himself, they all prepare for a showdown, in which he outdraws Buffalo, then deliberately leaves Slipknot's head attached while ripping out the heads of all the rest to prevent resurrection. Elsewhere, a group of prisoners are waiting to be transported for execution without a trial. Angel mentions how becoming a Gallow Walker is a fate worse than death, because they can't die and their souls have already been damned, which means they can't go to heaven. The very mention of Gallow Walkers has the guards on edge. Another prisoner, named Fabulos, is also there for thievery, but has a different fate ahead of him. Before the wagon arrives to transport them to the gallows, Amon shows up and, from a faraway hill on the mountain, kills all of the guards with precision. Fabulos, seeing this, tests his fate and spreads his chains, praying that the mysterious gunslinger doesn't kill him. Fortunately, he shoots the chain with accuracy, and Fabulos flees. The mysterious man walks away, and Fabulos, who has stolen a horse, chases after him. He thanks him and, having nowhere else to go, decides to follow the gunslinger, who simply says he could use a little help with his mission. They ride off. Angel, along with the rest of the criminals, is left in chains to be recaptured and executed. They're transported to a small settlement with a large set of fresh gallows at the center. We see the devout Marshal Gaza preach about righteousness until being called out by Angel, who recognizes him from attending a brothel house she used to work in. Just then, we see a mysterious lizard-skinned man in one of the tents, who orders his assassin, Kiskut, to kill the pilgrim and cut out his face, which he wears, allowing the lizard-skinned man, named Kansa, to walk around in the sun. He makes his presence known, and he immediately outdraws the marshal, instantly killing him and all of his surrounding men. The Gallow Walkers slaughter most of the inhabitants, while Kiskut calls in their mass cult to collect their new outfits. Meanwhile, Amon and Fabulos stop at a landmark where the nomad hides water and beef jerky. He tosses the rookie a pistol, and it seems like he's threatening him with a duel, but he steps on a trapdoor, dropping. Fabulos falls into a mine shaft beneath them. He uses the revolvers to defend himself from the underground Gallow Walkers that Amon has trapped for training purposes. Midway through the fight scene, the gunslinger even descends himself to tie down Fab's right arm and test if he's just as good with his left hand. Once their brains are all destroyed, the rookie emerges from the mine shaft, angry and with many questions. So, Armin decides to answer his question, since it was a bit wrong to surprise him like that. He then explains what Gallow Walkers are, and why he seeks revenge. I can honestly tell you haven't hit that subscribe button, just press it please, on the Gallow Walkers. Amon's mother was one of a sacred sisterhood of nuns called the Sisters of San Diablo, who guarded a gateway between heaven and hell inside the Mountain of Resurrection. But due to the danger of the job, he was dropped at an orphanage at age 12. He was sent away from the orphanage as a child to find his own way until he was picked up by the mistress of Slaughterhouse. He is then raised at the slaughterhouse by the harsh but caring mistress. While there, he fell in love with Sueno, and they planned to spend their whole lives together until one day, when Amon wasn't around, Kansa's gang stopped by and raped her, which made her pregnant, and she died during childbirth. They were eventually captured, so Amon snuck inside the prison and got his revenge in cold blood, murdering every prisoner. Amon was shot in the escape and perished in the desert soon after. His real mother, who has been watching all along, makes a deal with the devil to bring Amon back, to which he agrees. But he also places a curse on him that anyone he killed or kills would come back as the undead. He also takes his mother's soul in exchange. So all the prisoners came back from the dead. Meanwhile, I can honestly tell you haven't hit that subscribe button. Just press it, please. Kansa now seeks the Sisters of San Diablo to explain why his son, who is also in the prison, never returned. Kansa's lieutenant, Skullbucket, is beginning to decay and needs to replace his skin with one of the captured townspeople. Instead, he just puts his helmet back on as the other undead begin replacing their skin with fresher pieces. Mosca maintains the corpse of Kansa's dead son and uses lizard parts for himself so that he only has to replace it every other week. They keep Angel alive to replace the son's flesh once they figure out how to bring him back. As Skullbucket delivers the priest who knows the location of Resurrection Mountain and where the Sisters of San Diablo live, he refuses to divulge the location of the sisters when suddenly Slipknot returns. As part of Amon's plan, now an immortal himself, he brought Bakul's head in a bag and tells them where to find the gunslinger. Meanwhile, Amon and his sidekick return to the slaughterhouse, where they tell the mistress to expect an attack because he knew that the undead would track him down. Fabuloses and the little boy from earlier starts talking, and we find out he is the son Amon's wife left behind. They decide to play slingshot, and Fabulos's competitive nature sees him verse the kid in target shooting with a sling out back, but he's terribly humiliated as, like Amon, the young apprentice hits the target with precision. Afterwards, while Amon's paying respects to his wife's grave, he gives Fabulos a weapon to protect himself from dangers, like the snake by his foot, which frightens him. Sometime later, the mistress is drunk in light of the situation and needs help to the water to cool off, when Slipknot disguised as a goat attacks, but he's sniped by the gunslinger. The gang arrives in full force, so Amon saddles up and rides into battle to defend his homestead. At the house, Fabulos is ambushed from all directions but skillfully defends the slaughterhouse. He brains Gallo walkers through their metal visors, but is blindsided and mortally impaled by Skullbucket. The giant knocks the mistress unconscious and goes after the kid, who manages to avoid being caught until Armin reaches them, after killing everyone else, and fights the undead lieutenant alone. He eventually catches him with a meat hook, causing them both to collapse through the floor into the kill chamber below. When the big guy rises, Amon manages to trip him into the room's guillotine and beheads him like you would a cow. It only removes the helmet to reveal his almost completely decayed face, but as he charges the gunslinger, he lets the kid get his first kill. Like, seriously, bro, subscribe. I really mean it. Hit that subscribe button to get me maniatized. With a lethal rock slung into the exposed brain. The surviving Gallo walkers have found the location that the priest revealed to be Resurrection Mountain. Kansa and his final two servants, Kiscut and Mosca, enter the hidden temple, where he expects to resurrect his child, By now. The severely wounded Fabulos is almost bled out from his wound, so Amon kills him to save him. When he wakes, he is furious at Amon. He reaches for his gun, but Amon had removed the bullets from his gun, expecting a hostile reaction when the new Gallo walker resurrects. After he comes to terms with being dead, they travel to the temple where Amon's mother sacrificed herself and the rest of the sisters to resurrect him, and find Kiscut guarding the entrance. Kiscut asks him if he wants to fight with a knife or a gun. When they finally agree on a duel of pistol, Amon outdraws her. When the gunslinger finds Kansa's boy planted on the top of Resurrection Mountain, he hallucinates Sueno being held hostage by Kansa, who he shoots, but it's just Angel and Mosca being used as a decoy, so the rival can disarm him. Thinking that he's the final Gallo walker, and asking why his son never returned after Amon killed him, Kansa's greeted by Fabulos, who orders him to step back and have a fair duel. When one draws, they both fire, but the gunslinger's left unharmed, while Kansa gets a hole and drops to the ground with a bullet hole to his head. Amon reveals that his son didn't resurrect because he never killed him, and instead, he took his own life in prison out of regret for what they did to his wife. He blows the dome off the dried-up corpse and removes Kansa's head with a single pull. Afterwards, Angel seductively approaches the only surviving undead in the West. He thanks the gunslinger for everything, as Amon returns to the slaughterhouse with the Gallo Walker's head in his hand. And the movie ends.